because men want younger women.
Mhm.
If a man is 40, there is no way he is looking for a 40-year-old.
Right.
There's no way.
But at 40, do women even want to go with a 40-year-old man? The 40-year-old women want to go with a 50-year-old man, do they not?
I'd say most of my friends who've got divorced and who've kind of had relationships, it's either they've tried very hard to have a relationship and they're all very attractive. They're just older.
Right.
They're just in their 50s, the 40s, whatever. They're just not in their 30s. They've tried to have relationships with men of their age. Kind of hard. Yeah, can they have sex with their own? Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Easy.
2025 has exposed something people didn't want to see. It's not that men or women suddenly changed. It's that the dating market finally became honest, brutally honest. For years, people were told they could have everything, no matter how late they started or how little they invested. But reality doesn't run on promises. It runs on choices. And now, both men and women are waking up to the results of the paths they took. A lot of older singles, men and women, are confronting a difficult truth.
Men hates older women. Guess what? The reason is simple. They're trying to find someone that they can impress. And the older woman cannot be impressed, okay? Just like that. Puppy love, no. She has been there, done it, so she doesn't want a puppy love. She wants something serious. She wants a man. She doesn't want a man who wants to impress, youngsters. Impress, 18, 20, 21, 25-year-olds. Those men that are trying to do that, honestly speaking, they are lacking self-confidence. They are lacking maturity. So they want something that they can identify with, which is, immaturity. Because at that age, if you are 40 and you're dating someone in her, early 20, or she's 18, 19, you are not mature yet in your mind. Remember, women do get mature faster than men. So therefore, if you see a 40-year-old dating an 18, 19-year-old, you just need to realize that, this fool is not yet mature in the head. He could be 22. You see, he could be 20. Who knows? Just because his biological age is stating that he is 40, it doesn't mean he is mentally 40. He's trying to impress, someone that he can easily, impress. Because the older woman, it's not impressing an older woman. It's not even about your bank account. Your A game has to be super high to the point where you will fool her, because she knows the whole trick. There's nothing to impress. That's how come these men, they don't like older women. It's simple. It's a psychology. They want to feel needed. They want to feel the older woman is established, okay? Meaning she is independent. She knows what she wants within a man. But those older men want to tell a woman what to do, and that doesn't work with this generation. Most women out there, they prefer the independence than someone telling them what to do. Hello, are you awake? I think you're sleepy.
You want to know why men pick younger women? It's not because they're prettier. It's not because they're easier. It's because older women have forgotten how to be feminine. Yes, I said it. See, younger women still have something that a lot of older women have lost along the way. That is softness, admiration, and the ability to actually receive a man's energy instead of competing with it. Older men do not want to fight every day. They do not want to be your emotional punching bag or your therapist. They want peace. They want a woman who listens, who is grateful, who still sees the man in front of her instead of resenting him for the ones in her past. And no, this does not apply to everybody. There are exceptions, but I am talking about the rule. When a younger woman walks in with light, feminine energy, and a willingness to follow, it feels refreshing to a man who has been carrying the world on his back. It's not about a number on her driver's license. It is about her energy. A woman in her 40s who's done the inner work, who leads with softness and respects masculine energy, she will always win. But if we're being honest, most don't. And that's exactly why men go for younger girls.
Dating has become competitive, fast-moving, and high pressure. People who spent years working on careers, or healing, or waiting for the right moment, are suddenly realizing that the world didn't wait with them. The dating pool shrank, priorities shifted, and expectations stayed the same. That combination creates disappointment, especially when people assume their value is frozen in time.
Why are men refusing to date older women? Well, I'm going to give you 10 reasons why. But before we get into that, let's deal with the lies first. Because every time this topic come up, the same excuses flood the comments. Not all of us are like that. Men only date younger women because they want to manipulate them. Blah, blah, blah. Same old excuses. Here's the truth most people don't want to say out loud. Older women aren't being overlooked because men are unfair. They're being overlooked because it's a bad investment to deal with them. They literally offer no value. And this is not because they don't have value. It's because the value that they do have, they shut it off and can't find a button to turn it back on. For decades, women are told to focus on education, careers, and independence, and they listen. But every time they try to get into a relationship, they fail to tap into their feminine energy. Once you got a taste of, I can support myself, any idea of being cooperative and supportive to a man takes away her sense of self-empowerment. Why? Because the focus on education, careers, and independence requires masculine energy to be used heavily. So the very traits that helped them survive alone became the same traits that made them incompatible with men. Men see the pattern. High standards, low cooperation, combative energy, no peace, emotional baggage that makes them unfit for relationships. And instead of fixing it, therapists and influencers keep telling them that their trauma defines them and empowers them, which is the complete opposite of what a man values in a woman. During a woman's journey, most of them never learn or never care to learn what a man actually wants from a woman. So when they finally put effort into learning what men want, the things they discover limits them to being a bust down. They're being taught that men are just dogs that only want sex, food, beer, and football Sundays. The problem with this is it only makes her valuable on the weekends. Why scoop up an old nag after Friday when you can get a young baddie who can do the same thing with more energy, beauty, and more cooperation? And that's a few of the things we're going to talk about in this video. Reason 1, older women have high standards but low value. And no, this isn't about chasing six-figure, 6-foot men. That's the excuse people use to soften what's really happening. The reality is this, even average men aren't signing up to deal with them anymore. Even below average men are walking away. Because the issue isn't that older women can't reach top-tier men. It's that they can't even hold the interests of any man, period. And that's not a reflection of the men. That's a reflection of what these women became. They want a man who's financially stable and smart with his money, while they're unstable and not even paying off their own debt. They want you to come in and do that. They want a man who's emotionally available, but they haven't healed from their past relationships. They want a man who is flexible with his leadership because it helps when they refuse to follow him from time to time. They want a man who communicates clearly, but okay with her having a lack of transparency. They want a man who's fit, but okay with her using thyroid as an excuse. They want a man with discipline, but someone who doesn't expect the same from his woman. They want a man with vision, but he has to be open to allowing her to reshape his vision to compensate for the things she sees as fit. They want a man who protects and deters other men who may disrespect her, but she wants to be allowed to dress like a hooker. Every standard they set for men is also a trap, and that's why men, average, high value, even below average, have stopped signing up. When expectations rise and value drops, the market corrects itself. That correction is what you're seeing right now. Reason number 2, older women compete with men instead of bringing peace. Many older women have spent years surviving alone, building careers, paying bills, and protecting themselves. To do that, they had to embrace masculine energy. That energy helped them thrive in the workplace, handle pressure, and stay independent. But it also came with a cost. That same energy shut off the side of them that connects with nurturing, softness, and cooperation, the very traits that make women valuable to men. So when they finally decide to start a relationship, they don't know how to switch gears. They end up mirroring men instead of complimenting them. And that's where the conflict begins. Instead of harmony, there's competition. Instead of direction, there's debate. 2 people fighting for authority, control, and leadership in a space that was meant for peace. Men don't want to come home to a fight. They want to come home to peace. They want to lead their household. And any woman who sees that as oppression instead of order will always turn a relationship into a war zone. Reason number 3. Older women require men to overlook or accept their baggage. I'm going to say that one more time. Older women require men to overlook or accept their baggage. Older women realize that their baggage is something they can't just turn off, shut off, or throw away. It's something that attaches to them like a parasite until the day they die. Every decision they make leaves a psychological and biological imprint on their physical and mental well-being, something that can't be undone or reversed. That imprint carries into every new relationship, and a man is forced to deal with it whether he deserves it or not. Their traumas, their habits, and even their preferences that were shaped by other men, it's all baggage. Even if it only influenced what they like or dislike, it still counts as baggage because it makes them less open to new ideas, new direction, or new leadership. It makes them unimpressionable. That's why it bottlenecks the relationship. A man ends up being measured against every man who came before him. No matter what he does, he's being compared to the last one. That's what makes it baggage. It brings the past into the present and blocks the future. And spiritually, a woman who has carried too much for too long loses her softness. She becomes hardened, not out of evil, but out of exhaustion. The problem is, once a woman is hardened, she can't be molded, led, or corrected. She becomes fixed in her ways. And that kills the very dynamic that allows a man to lead. That's why men today are not signing up to deal with it. They become well aware, because a woman with that much history doesn't come alone. She comes with everything she's been through and everything that's been through her. And a man who values peace knows that once baggage becomes identity, there's nothing left to build with.
Men in 2025 aren't choosing the same way anymore. They're more cautious, more selective, and more aware of what actually matters. In a long-term relationship, they're prioritizing peace, compatibility, femininity, shared values, and emotional stability. Not age, but alignment. Not timelines, but temperament. And when someone comes into dating with resentment, pressure, or unrealistic expectations, men step back, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation.
Are not attracted to older women is because they don't obey and they don't listen. And it's easier to teach a young woman than it is to deal with an older man. To deal with an older woman. Now, let me say this to you and keep it 100. If your man wants you to obey, then they need to go to PetSmart and get them a puppy, okay? They don't need a full-grown woman. They need a puppy. They don't need a woman, okay? Now, here's the situation. The reason older women have a problem listening to many men is because they have been disappointed by men, okay? They've been disappointed because there are many men, okay, who will make a baby, but they don't stay around to raise a baby, okay? Then they get old and then they say, oh, I want me a young woman. I don't want no older woman. You never had no responsibility. These men laying down, having children, making babies, not sticking around to raise them, irresponsible. They got to take you to child support court. You got to be instructed by somebody in the child support system to take care of your child. And then you still running from them, changing your social security numbers, lying about what you're working because you don't want to take care of your child. Why? Because when you were a child, which you still are, you're just an older version, you're a man child. When you were like an infant, you were not made to do anything. You did not learn responsibility. All you had to do was eat and breathe. And what you want, you don't want a woman. You don't want a full-grown woman. You want a mama. You want a mama. You want somebody that's going to cook for you, that's going to clean for you, that's going to overlook you not being responsible, who is going to accept your stuff because you got a sex part. Baby, you need to go sit down, okay? Straight up. But unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with. Let me tell you something. Right now, you can look in a newspaper across the country. What do you see? Men killing women, setting them on fire, dismembering them. These is men that these women wanted to try to listen to, and they out here killing these women, okay? Putting stuff in their drinks, all right? You know why? Because one or two reasons. They jealous of these women or they want to be a woman. Let me say that for the people in the back. They jealous of these women or they want to be a woman.
Question for the men, because I'm starting to wonder, are there any men left in this entire universe that like women in their 50s with a natural body?
Well, darling, I'm more than happy to answer your question, but as I always do, I'm going to preference this by saying my response is not going to be sugarcoating things. I'm going to be honest with you, brutally honest with you. Or as I like to put it, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Okay? So if you actually want to hear the truth, hear how men think, and hear their answer, and maybe, just maybe, be able to find someone, then keep listening. Or if you're like most women who don't want to or can't handle the truth, then scroll on by. Just keep doing what you're doing and wondering why you're alone and will be for the rest of your lives. Okay, so for those of you still here, let's get into it. First off, of course there are men who like women in their 50s. And the truth of the matter is, most of them actually prefer women with natural bodies. Men, for the most part, are turned off by that Botoxed, siliconed, overly made up look that women think makes them attractive. Yes, there are exceptions, but just because a few do like that doesn't mean they all do. I mean, let's face it, as you get older, it becomes pretty obvious when you've had, let's call them certain enhancements, and then they're sticking out like a sore thumb, if you catch my drift. And while you think that's what men want, because that's what your girlies, not to mention the plastic surgeon, told you they want, in reality, it just turns men off. But that's not even the real problem. You see, the real problem, the answer to your question that you don't want to hear, is that it's more about your attitude than appearance that turns men off. You see, the men who like women in their 50s, the ones who would want to date or be in relationships with women in their 50s, aren't the ones you're looking to date, let alone be in a relationship with. And you make it blatantly obvious that that is the case. Hell, many of you come right out and say it, that you won't even consider a man who doesn't meet your, as y'all like to put it, higher standards. You know, the 6 feet tall with six-pack abs and six-figure income that you've all decided somehow a man must be possessed to be worthy. All, of course, while refusing to acknowledge that most of you don't even come close to meeting those criteria yourself. It speaks to the mindset that men see all the time in women, but especially in older women. This expectation that they get to have those so-called higher standards, while men, well, those men aren't allowed to have any standards at all. And that mindset is rampant in older women, more so, I'd argue, than it is in the younger ones. And here's another little tidbit you aren't going to like. With age is supposed to come wisdom. But when it comes to valuing who you are right now and where you're at, that simply doesn't apply to today's modern women. Really not at any age, but most especially for those in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and up. You see, most of you are still stuck in your early 20s mindset, where you could have any man you wanted. You still think you're all that you are the table, and all you need to do is offer this. Hell, trying to maintain that mindset is one of...
On the other side, many women feel blindsided. They were told they could build a life first, and romance would fit in later, like a reward waiting on the shelf. But connection isn't guaranteed, and timing is everything. When they re-enter dating in their mid-30s or 40s, they find that men their age are looking for something different now, or they've already settled down. It feels like rejection, but it's really just misalignment. Two different timelines colliding.
Hate to bring this back to what I said before, but this is why men in general prefer younger women. Like older women tend to be stuck in their ways. I'm right, you're wrong, even in the face of fact, etc. And not to pick on you or anything, but a lot of older women will sit there and argue with you about things. And, well, my worldview is this because I forged it through my 30, 40 years of my experiences. But what women don't understand is that your experience is limited to your experience. And I'll be honest, women live life on easy mode a lot of the times. So you don't necessarily see the world for how it really is. Men have to see the world for what it really is because men live a much more difficult life than women do. We don't have the same privileges and opportunities and situations given to us by our gender. Men have to go out there and get out the mud for real. I'm not saying that you didn't work hard in your life, but you would not have had the same opportunities and certain things presented to you if you were a male.
Have you noticed that men, they don't hate bouncy, fuckable 25-year-olds? They don't hate grandma, they hate middle-aged women. Is it because you're kind of confused because on the one hand, we remind you of your mother and you hate your mother, so you don't want to fuck your mother, and it's kind of some Oedipus complex that you're trying to get over? Or is it because we're not easily manipulated anymore and we're harder to please because you have to be accountable for your actions and shit? I don't know.
Women over 35 have hit the wall. This is true and untrue at the same time, and let me explain why I say this, okay? For my professional expertise, I have worked with hundreds of women, and I have worked with a lot of women over the age of 35. Now, there's a group of those women who have absolutely no issues with dating. No issues with encountering men who want to be with them, who want to commit to them, who want to be serious about them. Then you have another group of women who have a very difficult time with those exact same things. Now, I want y'all to remember that. The thing that young women have on their side is youth. So women in their early 20s, mid 20s, you know what I'm saying? Even like this 20s period, but especially like the early and mid. They are young, they're supple, right? They're impressionable, right? They don't have certain baggage that older women have. And because of their youth, and especially because they're attractive, they don't have to be so smart, right? They don't have to have, certain levels of integrity. They don't have to have a high standard of character because they have youth on their side. And all of us as women have gone through this process of having youth on our side. So if you were to put a woman who is 25 in the same room as a woman who is 35, and these women have a lot of the same things, so maybe the same height, same weight, same physical appearance, so on and so forth. And both of those women have bad character, bad personality. Both of those women are not easy to be with. If a man had to choose, like, hey, I have to choose a woman, he's likely going to choose the younger one. However, let's go back to what I was talking about initially, where I said there are two categories of women over 35. One that has absolutely no issues with men. Men will still marry them. Men still want to be with them. And the ones who a man would not spit on them if they were on fire. The reason for that is they have bad character. They have a bad personality. They don't have the wisdom. They don't have the intellect. They don't have the things that they should have at their age. They make life hard, not just for themselves, but the people around them. Then we want to add the fact that they are out of their prime. They're out of the typical baby making ages. So yes, women in that category have hit the wall. But the women in the category who know themselves, who take care of themselves, who don't have bad character, who's a pleasure to be around, who don't take nobody's shit, but also is respectful, those women over 35 will never have a problem. Men will still gravitate towards them because a man over 35, if he's a high caliber man, he typically doesn't want a younger woman because she does not have the wisdom, she does not have the life experience or the conversation that would even excite him. That is even something he'd be interested in. So ladies, if you're over 35 and you don't want to hit the wall, be a better person. Stay safe.
Nobody is the villain here. Nobody is better than anyone else. The truth is simpler. People made choices. Life moved forward. And now everyone is dealing with the consequences of the paths they took. Some call it unfair. Others call it natural. But one thing is clear. 2025 is the year people stop believing. That love waits on delay.
Another reason why men choose younger women, and another reason why women should work on themselves, heal the wounds, it is bitterness, sourness. Over the years, women encounter a lot of bullshit and hardens you. And you don't transmute that by healing, by looking at these past events that happened in your life, even in your childhood, making sense of them all, internalizing them, and releasing them so that you have a lighter heart. If you do not do this, you are going to repel men. You're going to be the old lady with the cats, with the face and the wrinkles that instead of having these smile lines, right, you're going to be this. Get off of my lawn! You're going to be the Karen. Take down that flag! You're going to be that miserable, awful, crotchety bitch that no man wants to date. So work on yourself. You need to have lightness. Smile. Happy.
This is why guys don't like dating older women, and I know I'm going to get murdered in the comments for this, but that's okay. I want to tell you ladies what the truth is. Now, I'm 35. I've been single for roughly 2 years. I've been on a lot of dates. I've dated women, 6, 7 years older, and I've dated women 6, 7 years younger. So in their 20s and in their early 40s. And here's the biggest difference. It's not that younger girls are more attractive or any of that. It's that they literally haven't been tainted by the world. And what I mean by that is if you go out with a younger girl, she's oftentimes still super ambitious. She's fun. She's excited about life. But the complete opposite, in my opinion, happens when I go out with women who are older than me. Typically women who are, let's say, 40 years old, they've been either cheated on, divorced, they're raising multiple kids, and the dad probably isn't super helpful. And honestly, it's not their fault. But you can just feel this sense that to them, Life is over. There is no better season coming. What they have went through in the past is as good as it's going to get. And us as guys, we don't want that. We want to be with somebody who is fun, adventurous, has goals, has a big future planned, wants to do awesome things in life, wants to build cool stuff together. And so that is the core reason. That's it. It's not that young girls are more attractive or whatever. And honestly, sometimes I wish I would date somebody my age or a little bit older just for the maturity factor alone. But I simply can't get over the negativity feeling that comes out of these dates that I've been on. And it's all because of what they've been through and clearly haven't been completely over.
Dating isn't broken. People's expectations are. When you understand timing, accountability, and self-awareness, the whole picture becomes clearer, and the chaos starts to make sense. This is Sigma Chronicles, where we don't blame the world. We learn from it.
I am having like all the feels right now. I mean, my birthday's in about a week, so I've got all of that coming up, and reading through these comments is really intense, and I can relate to them so much. This is my story right here. I spent my 30s in a relationship with a man that I was very much in love with and expected to marry and have a kid with. And when I was 38, he left me for a 20-year-old. And it was so funny because at the time, I was amazingly optimistic. I really believed that I was going to go out. I got a new job. I somehow managed to turn my life around after all of that. And I was absolutely convinced that my horrific experience in romantic relationships was like statistically likely to take a turn for the better. And that I was going to meet someone and I was going to be able to have a baby right under the wire. But that did not happen, not even by a long shot. And in fact, the experiences that I had with dating were just as bad, and in one case worse, to the point where I've now opted out of dating altogether because I don't feel that it is good for my mental health. And I'm going to be 47 in about a week, and I think, getting close to the end of the perimenopause phase, and there's a lot of intense emotions that I feel about this. In some ways, I'm okay with it. I have taken care of children my whole life, and there's a part of me that's like, great, now it's my turn. But there's another part of me that is immensely sad. I even knew what I was going to name my child. Like, I've thought about her for decades, and it really pains me to know that I will never know her. But I think the hardest part of this is that it comes with so much fucking shame. Not because of us. Like, we don't do this to ourselves. It is all from out there. Our society is so judgmental of women who didn't get married and don't have kids. And I hear it on a daily basis every single time I get on social media. I hear it from my own nieces who ask me sometimes, I don't understand why you're a woman if you didn't have children. They're 7 and 9. Where did they learn that kind of... The shame is everywhere. And I wish I could say it gets easier, but it does not. But I will say that I am getting better at taking care of myself and protecting my journey and loving it and learning to accept it. Ultimately, it is nobody's business. And what's truly shameful is that it's so socially acceptable to shame people who are already grieving and in pain. So do everything you can to tell the shame to F off.
Ain't nobody sitting down with no burnout, hoe. nigga looking for nigga don't want no burnout. Them whole man, once a woman get 31, 32, and nigga, she done had fun in her 20s, she's a burnout. That's why you see Jamie Foxx with a 22-year-old. That's why you see Floyd Mayweather with a 21-year-old. Niggas is looking for a turnout. Not a burnout. Many hoes burn out, nigga, at 28, 29, 30, and they done had fun from 17 to then. Nigga, they burn out. That's a high mileage vehicle. Nigga, that motherfucking transmission finna go out soon, and you gonna have to get a new transmission. So, nigga, a new transmission costs damn near what a new car costs. So, nigga, go get you a new car. Hey, go get your turnout. Yeah, nigga, fuck them burnouts, nigga. Man, them burnouts just good for a moment. See, them burnout hole like that is just good for 1 or 2, 3 fucks. Every woman before this generation knew that and understood that. So that's why a lot of hoes sitting around fat, out of shape, unhealthy.
That's today's chapter of the Sigma Chronicles. Subscribe for more unfiltered reality.